Greetings, I'm Maggie Moon. Today I'm going to be sharing with you some of the ways that I interpret the flame of the candle. In my previous video, I discussed how to read your spell candles as they are burning. So today I'm going to focus particularly on the flame of the candle. I read the flame of the candle during spell casting, but I also use candle reading as a form of communication with the spirits, particularly with devotional candles. When you light a devotional candle and it's dancing around a lot, I interpret that as an indication that the spirit that I am setting aside time as an offering is choosing to communicate with me. So I will either take that as an indication to sit down, meditate, open up, and commune. Sometimes if I need to seek clarification in some of the messages that I'm receiving, because they don't come in language, they come in symbols and visions. You know, that's the way I perceive them anyway. Everyone has their own way. But sometimes with that download of information that comes, sometimes you may need to ask some clarifications. So what I do, and I try not to do it often because I find when I engage in my logic mind, I tend to break state. So I save it for the end, and I will word things in a manner that can be answered with a yes or a no. And I will indicate, particularly for the first time, yes will mean the flame going up and down, and no will mean the flame dancing from side to side. And then in a circle would mean, my question isn't relevant to the information. So that's just how I do it. And you obviously will use your own intuition and develop things for yourself. So when you are performing a spell and you've got everything set up, you've done everything, you've raised your cone of power, or you've made your pact or whatever, and you're lighting your candle and the candle won't light, or the candle immediately burns out, that's an indication that whatever path that you're on to try and achieve your desired result is not the correct pathway for the working. Okay, so that's an indication that you're not taking the right approach. So one of the ways to avoid this is to perform divination before you create your spell, or before you go and research a spell, or whatever, however you do it. So for myself, I will communicate. Mostly I do meditations and I receive information from the different diamonds that I work with, and receive things that way. Sometimes I will perform a divination with utilizing cards or the runes or the ohms, depending on whatever I feel. My intuition is always my guide, and I suggest that you do that too. And I often get asked, how do I develop my intuition? How do I know what my intuition is saying? And the best thing I could say is just trust yourself and get out of your own way. That first sensation that you feel before you even start thinking too much about it, like if you're like, okay, I have to perform a divination, and you're like, runes, you hear that or you sense that, that's what you use. Get out of your own way and just listen to that highway of communication that's happening between you and your holy guardian angel, or your holy daemon, or whatever you wish to call it, your higher self. Okay, that's the easiest tip I can give you. Just trust yourself and go with it. So you lit the candle and it goes out right away. And it's not a cheap dollar store candle or anything like that. The candle is a quality candle, and it goes out. So that really means you're not approaching this from the right point, or now is not the right time. So you have to go back to the drawing board, go back to meditation, or do a reading, use your pendulum, whatever it may be, whatever calls to you. So when you first light your candle and the candle flame is really high, that means a lot of energy is being sent to the spell and things are going well. It's a very high powered spell, and you could likely expect good results. But right from the onset, your spell is like hitting the target and doing its work. And you'll continue to monitor the candle flame and the rest of the candle as the spell progresses for further indications of how it's continuing to go. Okay, so sometimes you light a candle, and let's say the candle's not wet, you didn't overdo it with the oil, you didn't like wet the wick, because you'll want to try and avoid doing that. But if the wick isn't wet, and you light the candle and it starts popping and crackling, making that sound, that is an indication, in my opinion. Of course, please develop your own, your own observations based on your own intuition and experiences. I'm just sharing what these things have meant to me over the years, how I've interpreted them. I've been at this a very long time, over 33 years, and I just want to share what I have to help enrich other people's practices, because you have all helped enrich my practice so much through your videos and through your comments and your emails. So the crackling indicates a lot of interference. Sometimes it can mean a lot of gossip. Other people are talking about this particular thing, whatever the spell is about. It could be, they're talking about you or conspiring against you or whatever it may be. Now, sometimes the crackling can mean spirits want to communicate with you, so you'll want to open yourself up and just see how you feel, what you get from that. If you need to pull out your pendulum or read the candle flame asking yes/no questions, do a reading, or a meditation, communicate with the spirits. In my experience, more often than not, the crackling means interference or people talking about the situation in one way or another. So new situations might be arising from this group gossip or whatever. Alternatively, when you light your spell candle and now the candle is dancing from side to side, up and down, like sort of in the way that I communicate with spirits with when I light my devotional candles, I will take that as a sign that diamond that I'm working with, or whatever spirits, or my higher self, or whatever it may be, there's a spirit that wants to communicate with me, so I will take heed. If the flame burns like a nice gold, like this one, that means things are progressing nicely, the spell is going well, the energy is good and strong. If you light it and you have just a tiny little flame, that means there's not a lot of energy at the spell, at the onset. But if it's a tiny flame, but it keeps going, watch it, because the flame may grow as the spell continues to progress. And that means the spell is gaining its momentum, and that it just doesn't have, a lot of momentum right on the onset. That's fine. Just keep an eye for the other omens to help you know how to best proceed from that. Sometimes if the flame burns like a bright red, to me that indicates either, depending on what the candle is for, I often red, my first instinct is my ancestors, my magical bloodline is present, and that they are assisting me with this spell, and that it's my confirmation that the spell is something that needs to be done, so much so that my ancestral mothers and fathers are with me aiding the spell. Or depending on how you feel, red could mean, depending on the spell as well, could mean passion, it could mean anger, it could mean all those things that we associate with red, whatever you associate with red. So if your spell candle is burning blue, I often take that as there's spiritual helpers there, okay, otherworldly spiritual assistance with my spell. To me, it's a very mystical, royal type of feeling, so I know that I'm getting help from my spiritual entourage, as I call them. I think a lot of us witches have that. You have an entourage of spirits that are around you that assist you. Perhaps that's for another video. What else? If you attempt to blow out the candle, for some people, blowing out a candle is a big no-no. For some, it's fine. You decide what works for you and you stick to that and make that your practice, and that's what it'll mean to you. Okay. I like to snuff out my spell candles if I must put them out. Usually I like to allow for my spell candles to burn continuously until it completes. That's just how I roll, and I have my own witch hut here out in the woods, so you know there's always candles going and magic happening. So, but if for whatever reason, like my devotional candles, let's say, that are going all day in my bedroom from the moment I wake up and connect with Lucifer and Lilith until the time that I go to sleep, and I do my final offering, which in the evening it goes to Lilith, and then I will put out my candles, say my little piece, whatever it may be, and then I'll snuff those out. What does it mean when the candle won't go out? You blow it and it's not going out, or you try waving it, or you snuff it and it still comes up, or you put the lid on and then you come back and the candle's lit again. That means whatever work that is, whatever powers that be are not done their work, and that the candle needs to burn a while longer, whether it's a spell candle or a devotional candle. You'll respect that. Okay, so more often than not lately, especially when I put out my devotional candles and go brush my teeth and that and come back, my Lucifer candle or my Lilith candle, more often Lucifer, is lit again all by itself. It happens a lot in ritual too. I will put out my candles and I'll be tidying up, I'll turn around and candles are back on. This is an indication that the spirits have more that they would like to do or convey to you. So it is a respectful thing to set aside that time and receive their messages in whatever way that your talents are to receive the messages. Now, sometimes, particularly with jar candles, especially if you have herbs and oils in there, and let's be careful not to overdo it, but when you light the candle, and the whole top goes on fire. And sometimes it happens and I don't have any dressing on the candles. Some candles I like to just infuse with my intention. I like to mix things up depending on, you know, how I feel intuitively about the best course of action for the spell. And I've, you know, many times I light the candle and the entire top of the candle is aflame. That's an indication of very strong power being directed toward your intention. So it's a very huge bang right from the beginning. And so continue to monitor the candle as it goes for further indications. If it's devotional candle and the whole top is on fire, I watch the flame for different signs. If you're going to read candles, I highly recommend that you get high quality candles. These guys here, these type of candles are from the Dollar Tree. And I like to use these as devotional candles because I go through a lot of candles. I like to give thanks to the spirits that I work with. So with these candles though, they're not high quality, so they're very hard to read. You know, like the wax is cheap, the wick is cheap. It's $1.50 here in Canada, $1.25 I think actually, everything at the Dollar Tree here in Canada is. So I don't know what it is for you guys in the US or whatever, but you know, just think about the type of quality you're getting for that. In my shop, I do make my own, I do make some candles sometimes when the mood inspires, and I always do my best. I always get the highest quality mason jars and wax and wicks and oils and herbs and all of that stuff, and create them at the appropriate times when I am called to do so. It's all a very magical experience. But when I make my candles, because I read candles so much, and I know that other spellcasters out there or spiritual folks out there read candles as well, I take the extra time to center the wick properly and hand pour everything and do my best. I think Out of all the candles I've made so far, there's been an issue with one. If you want to read candles, go ahead and get the good quality one. It doesn't have to be from my shop. You can even make your own or order some. Just remember that more expensive doesn't always mean good quality, but it should. And in my devotional candles, I have herbs. So this is my Lilith candle. And I have herbs that are associated with Lilith and my Lilith oil in here as a devotion. And of course I add my own blood in here as well. I allow this to burn all the time. I think that's everything that I can think of right now for the candle flame. If you could share in the comments below how you read your candle flames, some of the experiences that you have. I always think it's so very important that we share our ways, because really there is no right or wrong way. We all have our own unique practices, have our own ways of doing things, and it's whatever works for the individual is what is their magic. And it's so very awesome for us to be able to share our own unique perspectives and tips and tricks to help each other grow and learn more. The more we share, the more we grow. Thank you for being here. And until next time, I wish you dark and wild blessings.